A teenage babysitter murdered a 4-month-old baby while the mother was out shopping. The case of Carl Alishbrook, a 19-year-old man from Derbyshire, England, shocked the community with disturbing details about the death of 4-month-old Elijah, his girlfriend's son. Elijah died on January 5, 2022, 3 days after being found in cardiac arrest at his mother's home in Belper, Derbyshire. The baby suffered catastrophic brain damage after being violently shaken by Alishbrook, who had only met Elijah's mother, India Shemwal. 7 weeks earlier in November 2021, Alishbrook caused impact trauma, brain hemorrhaging, and multiple bone fractures. Elijah suffered injuries to both eyes, including retinal hemorrhaging, broken limbs and ribs, as well as 17 bruises around his chest, back, and abdomen consistent with pinch marks. The Derby Crown Court jury was told. High Court Judge Jeremy Baker stated, "Only one sentence can be imposed, but part of that sentence will determine the minimum term you must serve." Medical evidence presented at trial showed Elijah had been shaken at least 3 separate times, including on New Year's Day and the day he was taken to hospital. Alishbrook, from Matlock in Derbyshire, denied causing any harm to the child. He told the court he was caring for Elijah alone while Shemwal, then 21 but now 23, was working away from home in Acorn Drive, Belper, Derbyshire. The court heard that Alishbrook had sent Snapchat messages to Shemwal calling Elijah a little shit just days before the baby went into cardiac arrest. He denied harming Elijah and feeling extremely angry or annoyed with the baby. During the trial, the jury heard evidence that Alishbrook had sought relief for toothache on the day of the murder, which Alishbrook denied. He also denied feeling jealous of the baby's father, whom Shemwal had separated from but maintained an emotional and sexual relationship with. The jury was told. Mark Haywood KC, Aylesbrook's defense lawyer, said the defendant was very young and immature at the time of the offense, but had the potential to be a very caring father. The court heard Alishbrook was caring for Elijah while the baby's mother was away from home. On January 2nd, Alishbrook allegedly shook Elijah for the final time, causing severe brain trauma. Regarding January 2nd, Judge Baker said, "This shaking caused the subdural hemorrhaging found around Eli's brain and bleeding around the optic nerves. This would lead to his rapid collapse." Witnesses at the trial recalled seeing Shemwal blow cannabis smoke in the infant's face when he was crying and telling him to shut up. The court heard that around 10 p.m. that day, a neighbor who was smoking outside saw Alishbrook through the window, moving his arms as if swimming or rowing. However, Alishbrook claimed in police interviews after his arrest that he was asleep when Shemwal went out on January 2nd. Alishbrook was sentenced to a minimum of 14 years in prison, minus time served, at Derby Crown Court, with the jury reaching their verdict on Thursday after nearly 10 hours of deliberation. Judge Jeremy Baker told Alishbrook that "You were well aware of right and wrong," adding, "I believe you were fully aware of the serious consequences of violently shaking a young baby like Eli." Shemwal, now 24, the baby's mother, was working away from home when Alishbrook shook Elijah. She was also sentenced to 3 years in prison after admitting to 2 counts of child cruelty, including failing to call emergency services sooner after Elijah became ill. She cried in the dock when video footage showing Elijah lifeless was played in court during the sentencing hearing. The day before Elijah was taken to hospital, she had sent a video of the unconscious boy with floppy arms to friends on Facebook asking for advice about his condition. The video showing her son unconscious with floppy arms on January 1st was shown to the jury. Another video showed the boy gasping for breath before Shemwal called emergency services on the evening of January 2nd, and the boy was taken by ambulance to Queen's Medical Center in Nottingham. A dispatcher instructed Shemwal to perform chest compressions until the ambulance arrived. After being resuscitated with adrenaline, Elijah was taken to the medical center. However, nothing more could be done, and on January 5th, the baby's life support was removed and he passed away. Elijah died 3 days later on January 5th with fatal head injuries described by the court as catastrophic. During her ex-partner's trial, Shemwal was described as an entirely inadequate mother who neglected Elijah but was not charged with causing any injuries. She cried in the dock when video footage showing Elijah lifeless was played in court during the sentencing hearing. Schimmel's defense lawyer, Darren Whitehead, said, "She knows she let her son down. She knows she let herself down. And she let her family down. It's her inaction, her failures, that will haunt her for the rest of her life. She misses Elijah, and regardless of what's said in this room or in writing, she still loves her son." She said, according to the prosecution's argument, she should have recognized immediately after Elijah was shaken, perhaps for the second time, that Elijah was very unwell and needed medical attention. This was especially true when she saw, as we have seen, fresh bruising on Elijah's face. In Snapchat messages to Schimmel days before Elijah was taken to hospital, Alishbrook said, "He's a little shit. He keeps spitting. He doesn't need changing either. I checked 10 minutes ago." DCI Greg McGill, who led the investigation into Elijah's death, said, although himself a child, even a teenager knows the fatal risks of shaking a 4-month-old boy. The force used to squeeze his tiny body broke his ribs, while the shaking caused such significant damage that his brain was deprived of oxygen, leading to death. While Schimmel was simply a terrible mother, she could never have predicted Alesbrook's brutal actions. However, it's clear she could and should have cared for Elijah much better, and she will have to live with the consequences of both her actions and inactions for the rest of her life. Elijah's final hours must have been extremely painful, and as a father, it's unimaginable how anyone could treat a defenseless 4-month-old child this way. Inspector McGill also said, while only Alishbrook is responsible for Elijah's death, the boy's mother, India Schimmel, was an extremely poor mother, more concerned with sexual relationships and drug use than ensuring her child's safety. When leaving Elijah with Alishbrook, a teenager she barely knew, she abandoned her role as the boy's protector, and now she must realize the consequences of her actions. A victim impact statement read to the court by the prosecutor from Schimmel's mother, Rachel Schimmel, stated that her daughter wasn't the best mother, and things could have been different if she had asked for help. She wrote, "We will never have Elijah back and can only remember the happiness he brought us in his short life." Judge Jeremy Baker said, "Eli's death has clearly affected those who loved him. There is nothing this court can do to ease their great sense of loss." Throughout the investigation and trial, horrifying details about Carl Alesbrook's treatment of baby Elijah were revealed, shocking the public. Elijah, a completely defenseless baby, endured terrible pain in his final days. The extent of injuries he suffered indicated extreme violence from Alishbrook. Medical experts confirmed that these injuries could not have been accidental, but were the result of intentional abuse. Regarding India Schimmel, although not directly responsible for her son's death, she was heavily criticized for her irresponsibility. Prosecutors argued that Schimmel failed in her role as a mother by leaving her son with a boyfriend she had only known for a few weeks. She didn't even take Elijah to the hospital even when she noticed his abnormal condition. These actions not only showed a lack of awareness, but also contributed to prolonging Elijah's suffering before his death. Derby Crown Court's sentence serves as a powerful reminder of the consequences of irresponsibility and cruelty toward children. Carl Alishbrook, despite his youth, was held legally accountable for his cruel actions. Elijah's death is not just a tragedy for his family, but also a warning to society about the importance of child protection and parental responsibility. In his final statements at court, Judge Jeremy Baker emphasized that there could be no justification for cruel actions against an innocent child. He expressed hope that this case would make the community more attentive to child protection issues and raise awareness about the important role of families in caring for and protecting young children.